From Ticker News with Aaron Young, this is Ticker Today.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me today. A massive escalation in Ukraine. Russia unleashes its largest drone and missile barrage yet, just hours after Donald Trump publicly denounces Vladimir Putin. Chaos in Liverpool. A car ploughs into crowds during a Premier League victory parade. The driver's in custody and several people now hospitalised. Tariff tensions reignite. President Trump extends his threat to the EU. A 50% tariff deadline now extended and set for July 9. A health shock in Australia. Major private hospital group Healthscope collapses, owing $1.4 billion, what it means for patients and also staff. And a royal visit set for a king. Political stakes are high as King Charles heads to Canada for the first time as monarch, a message for the Prime Minister and Parliament. You are watching Ticker Today, the latest news and business moving the world. Let's get started. But first today, Russia has launched its biggest aerial attack on Ukraine yet, just hours after a public rebuke from the US President Donald Trump. The assaults underscore the rising intensity of the war, even as diplomatic efforts remain stalled.
Russia has launched its largest drone and missile assault on Ukraine to date, unleashing more than 350 explosive drones and at least 9 cruise missiles overnight, according to Ukrainian officials. The attack came just hours after US President Donald Trump condemned Russian President Vladimir Putin, calling him absolutely crazy for needlessly targeting civilians. In response, Ukraine scrambled its air force and deployed electronic warfare and air defense teams across the country. Moscow claims the strike was retaliation for Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian military facilities over the weekend. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has demanded tougher sanctions against Russia, saying the strike served no military purpose. Despite talks earlier this month in Istanbul and calls for a ceasefire, negotiations remain deadlocked. Both nations continue to ramp up drone production, with Russia converting malls into drone factories and using Iranian technology to bolster its arsenal. The war's next chapter appears poised for escalation, not diplomacy.
A 53-year-old man's in police custody after a car crashed into a crowd during Liverpool's Premier League victory parade, and a warning: some viewers may find the following pictures disturbing. Witnesses report a grey people carrier driving quickly into the gathering, prompting efforts from bystanders to stop the driver. Emergency services responded rapidly, taking several individuals to hospital, both the Prime Minister and the opposition leader expressing concern for those impacted by the incident. President Trump has announced an extension of the deadline for the European Union to face a steep 50% tariff now set for the 9th of July. The decision comes after a positive conversation with EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who indicated that Europe is ready to engage in serious negotiations. Originally, the EU faced a 20% tariff, but a temporary pause has reduced it to 10% until the new deadline. However, Trump expressed frustration over what he perceives as slow negotiations and plans to leverage tariffs to boost domestic production. The Israeli military plans to seize 75% of the Gaza Strip within 2 months, aiming to drive Palestinian civilians into a smaller area. A new US-supported aid distribution program also starts soon, requiring family representatives to collect aid packages, while critics say it poses risks in a war zone. Israel has intensified its military operations against Hamas, recently capturing around 40% of Gaza since renewed conflict began in March. The humanitarian impact is severe, with over 53,000 Palestinians reportedly killed during the fighting, many displaced from their homes. A major setback for Australia's healthcare sector as Healthscope, the second largest private hospital operator in the country, has now entered administration, owing approximately $1.4 billion to creditors. The Federal Health Minister confirming taxpayers will not be bailing out the company, which employs 19,000 staff and oversees 37 private hospitals. Despite the turmoil, Healthscope's CEO assures that operations will continue as normal and patient care will remain unaffected, with elective surgeries still scheduled. Major banks are stepping in to support the transition, the Commonwealth Bank committing $100 million in new credit. The Health Minister, Mark Butler, spoke about the collapse.
Speculation about this decision has really been spreading through the community, and made very clear our expectations that the interests of patients and hardworking staff will be the highest priority through this process once it eventuated. I want to be clear that I expect to see an orderly sale process eventuate from this decision to a new owner with no impact on patients and no impact on hardworking staff.
Well, energy bills are rising. Residents in New South Wales set to face energy bill increases up to 9.7% starting from the 1st of July. In South Australia and also southeast Queensland, customers may see hikes of up to 4%. The Australian Energy Regulator's final determination establishes these price caps for residential customers on default plans. The Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, encouraging households to compare energy plans to find cheaper options, highlighting that many are not on the best rates available. Shares of Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer BYD dropped by 8% after the company announced significant price cuts on various models. The price reductions revealed on social media affect 22 electric and hybrid vehicles, including a 20% decrease for the Seagull hatchback and a 34% cut for the Seal sedan. Comes on the heels of early reductions for the Han sedans and Tang SUVs. Meanwhile, other automakers like Geely, Great Wall Motor and Li Auto also experienced declines amid concerns over increased competition. US exchange-traded funds have attracted a remarkable $437 billion in new assets so far this year, continuing to appeal to investors despite the market volatility. The trend is partly due to a shift from mutual funds to ETFs, which offer lower fees and also tax advantages. The Vanguard S&P 500 EFT has led the surge so far, drawing a $65 billion in net inflows and also becoming the largest ETF globally. Overall, while equity funds dominate the market, there is a notable interest in actively managed funds as investors now seek to capitalise on market opportunities. And global markets are rising as US President Donald Trump delays proposed tariffs on EU goods until July. The euro strengthening, reaching its highest value since late April, while the dollar sees a slight decline. Analysts note that investors are diversifying away from US assets amid concerns of a potential recession there. Trading volumes are lower than usual due to public holidays in the US and also Britain, with inflation reports from Japan and Germany expected later on this week.